I'm not a successful director. So.
Neither am I.
Yeah, well, you're more of a director than I am. So tell us who you are here. We'll just go right down.
My name is Rob Pralgo. I'm an actor and a acting teacher and a aspiring filmmaker here in Atlanta, Georgia.
My name is Cody Frank, and I directed the film Nephilim. I also was in it and wrote it. First-time filmmaker.
My name is Stephen Wise. My film here playing this weekend is called Survey.
All right, so no, I'm gonna, and you're gonna know why. You guys are gonna know why I'm gonna ask Cody this question first, because we just came off of a panel talking about making an independent film production, and some of the hazards of being the writer, director, and actor in your own movie. So tell us a little bit of some of what you had to go through. You said the first time, right? It's the first time?
Yeah, so I had done one short film before and a bunch of theater as an actor, but I decided I want to get serious about it, so I'm going to make something. The hardest thing was not knowing any crew, really, and just finding the people who could do it and the ones who were reliable and not like oddball, unreliable people. That was the big issue. Yeah.
The biggest. Okay, so any good anecdotes from your first? Something you might have learned from this first experience?
I think the biggest lesson I learned is don't write, direct, and star in your own film. You can't. I did all three, and I guess my film hasn't screened yet, so you don't know how good it is or how bad it is. But it's too much to do three different things. I could see directing and writing something, but I can't see doing all three ever again, especially directing other actors, because it messes with the dynamic, I think, when they're looking to you for like direction, and you also have to interact with them at the same time.
That's tough. Yeah, we were talking about that just a while ago, about how some of the hazards of and some of the situations we've been in where we've been around folks trying to do that, and how difficult that is. I want to ask, it's a similar question I think I asked a couple of you guys about screenwriting, and that is, what drew you to the creative process of directing? What made you want to be a director? A lot of us started out as actors, but what drove you to directing?
Well, in college at Georgia, I was studying TV film production, and but I was getting a minor in drama, and I was enjoying that. And when I graduated, at that point in '89, at the cusp of the digital revolution, I think everything I'd learned to make films on the day I graduated became antiquated. It's like, oh, well, these top-loading VCRs are no longer used. Here's your diploma, go starve. I was like, oh, shit, well, I can still act. They haven't changed that in the last couple of days. So I started studying acting, and I went to New York and studied acting and worked in LA and trained and worked as an actor. And I get to work with a lot of directors, because movies don't direct themselves and plays don't direct themselves. And I just caught the bug. I really enjoyed what they were doing, and I kept reaching back to what I'd learned in college and just the storytelling process. And you know, at some point, you got to put your money where your mouth is, and I found myself disagreeing, not contentiously, but disagreeing with directors I worked with and choices and how things were cut. And then I went, well, okay, well, make your own, damn it. Put your money where your mouth is. So I just decided to go ahead and start directing. So I directed a couple of low-budget commercials and a couple of short films. And I not credited directing any features yet, but by proxy I did. So, as I was producing. So that's sort of where I'm at right now, moving forward.
How about you, Steve?
I've been wanting to make movies all my life, and I mean, my earliest memories were sitting, watching TV, watching movies that played on, the 8 o'clock movie or whatever, and being frustrated because I would have to go to bed halfway through it. When I was 8 years old, my best friend from across the street called me up and said, hey, you want to make a movie? And I go, how? And his older brother had a Super 8 camera and was going to do a little short film. And so I went over there and we did this little film, and we ended up just continuing on, and eventually I got my own camera and did a lot of my own films when I was a teenager, and went to film school in college, and yeah, the rest is history.
Okay, Cody, so you're coming off your first, what drove you? You're an actor as well, and you write, but what made you want to direct?
Well, the first short film I did, I was just an actor, and I was watching the director, and I thought, this looks easy, I can do this. Like, here, hold my beer. And then what happened was 8 months later, I thought, wow, this is really a lot of work. But watching somebody else direct was what made me want to do it originally. I just didn't realize how much work it actually entailed.
I think we all run into that. Now, I came up in the theater. I mean, I started out when I was like in kindergarten and always did theater. And I was driven to direct in the theater because I've been an actor for so long. It was like there's a creative process there that's different from being an actor. I don't know if you guys have experienced that or not, but because I'll bounce back and forth and you just get that drive to, it's a different kind of vision. I don't know, it's hard to explain.
It's everything other than being the actor. The actor, you're working the moment. We talked earlier, in the screenplay panel where, as an actor, on set, all I care about is the moment. What's my obstacle? How am I dealing with it? And going toe to toe. The director has to not only take care of that, be aware of that, but everything: the camera, the lighting, the locations, the composition, the sound. It's everything. So it's the grass always seems greener, and then you go, oh shit. That grass is hard to cut, too.
Yeah, the directors are the ones who need the Tums and the Pepto-Bismol after the stress of all that.
Sure.
Versus being an actor, which is
and
more
we only
fun.
see them, like the actor, we only see the director on set, but the director gets the script immediately, with the producer, and they're the one breaking it down and tearing it up and doing the location scoutings and then doing the strip boards and the shot list and doing the pre-visualization these days and the storyboards, and then you see them, but so much of the work has already been done that it looks easy to the director that's very well prepared. I think Fincher says the shooting's the most boring part of the whole thing for him because it's already, I've already got it in pre-pro. Now we're just putting the pieces together. Then it gets fun again back in post, So anyway.
One of the things I asked you before in the other panel was if you would ever switch
roles,
characters, when rehearsing. One of the things I like to do as a director, working with the actors, is doing that as an exercise. So I'm just kind of curious, as a director, what do you do that helps the actors get into character?
Well, I've only done it a couple times as a director. Fortunately, I've been teaching for a while, acting. Repetition for me is key, and by repetition I mean time spent with script. I like to rehearse as much as possible. I like to treat so far the shorts I've done as a play, and get together as much as possible. I think it's impossible to over-rehearse. I want my actors to never have to think about the lines. You learn the lines so you can forget the lines. If we're thinking about the lines, as the actor, we're not thinking about the most important thing in every scene ever written, which is our obstacle, which is standing in front of us. If I'm thinking about my lines, I'm not thinking about how I'm dealing with you, so I'm never truly fully
and you're
in the moment.
acting, and you want to look like you're acting.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing.
Exactly, and so I spend the time with script constantly throwing different choices at them, as ifs. What if this is the circumstance? What if these are the circumstances? Just to the point where the relationships are sound, and we know what our obstacles are, and we know what our clear objectives are. And then we create character with action. If you threaten me, you're the threatening guy. If you flirt with me, you're the flirtatious guy. The lines are the same. The objectives are the same. It's what are the rules of the character? What would the character do or not do here? And are you the protagonist or the antagonist? Which comes out of the choices that we make. So we just spend as much time as possible. I preach rehearsal.
Well, and I found that is really effective too, and it's saved my life, if you will, several times, because when you get on set, there's all sorts of factors that may delay the production.
Sure.
Like for Survey, we showed up on the first day of production. We're shooting out in the woods, and it's raining.
Yeah.
So we had to wait until it was finished raining, and we got as much done, and then the storm clouds blew in again. So we lost several hours that first day, and it was a 2-day production. I mean, we did go back for a third day for some pickup shots, but it was really tough. So we were really hustling, and if it wasn't for the fact that the actors were well rehearsed and knew exactly what they were doing, where I could just say, okay, we're picking up from here and going from here to here, and here's your blocking, and they knew it. And it really was very, very helpful for me. I didn't have to worry about that.
And that rehearsal is imperative, too, because you get to know the actor. You may not know the actor well. The more time you spend with the actor, the more you're going to know him, the more you're going to understand his language. You'll be able to manipulate in the best way dealing with them as you know them better. And again, the relationships are key. It's amazing how often as an actor being a day player or doing a supporting role or a co-starring role, where I don't get to talk to the director prior to. There's an assumption we taped our audition, they see us do the part, and there's no real connection. And I understand that there's very limited time. But as an independent filmmaker, and again, it should be, I think, even through big budget films, but as an independent filmmaker, when you have limited resources, if you're trying to maximize the dollar, the people telling your story, at least that the audience sees, are your actors. I say get them the script as soon as possible. It blows my mind that how actors are the last one to see the script. They're the one telling the story. Why are they getting? I don't care if the script's not ready yet. The story's not going to change that much. Get them the early pages so that they can start working on it. So character isn't the words. Character is your actions, your behavior. Let them start understanding their character. If the words change, the words change. Scripts are constantly being rewritten. Get to know your actors early. Cast them early if possible, and cast them only if they're willing to rehearse.
Can I ask you a question then?
No. Yes,
oh,
of course.
bummer.
Yes, of course.
So you said you also do theater. So how does because like I said, this is
I've
my
never
first
directed
film.
theater, and I actually haven't done theater in a long time.
Okay, because I was going to ask you how a rehearsal for film is different than a rehearsal for theater, because
the way I've rehearsed, none, because I don't have cameras up during rehearsal. When I'm rehearsing with actors for film and TV, we're just in a room at a table, and we put it up on its feet. I'm not worrying about the shots right now. I want to make sure the relationships are sound. We just treat it like a play. This is this scene. These are the characters in the scene. These are the entrances. These are where the exits are. These are the motivations. Here are our objectives. Here are our purposes. How would you come about doing this? And again, I don't care if you're off book right now. You don't need to be off book because the lines are going to change anyway. This is where we're starting. How would you say this here? How would you motivate this guy to do this? How would you motivate this woman to do this here? Staying within the confines of our story right now and allowing them freedom to bring that. I hired these actors because they're comfortable in their skin. They're trained. They can make choices, and I'm trusting them. They're just another piece to the puzzle here. But putting it up, I treat it like a play, and then we bring the cameras in ultimately, and
yeah, that makes sense.
just so they're comfortable enough to. I just don't want my actors to ever have to think about the lines or worry about the lines.
That's true, and he's right, because I have much more experience directing theater, and it is the preparation's different. That it's a different type of preparation for theater directing from film directing. But yeah, when you're actually working with the actors, it's very similar, except in theater you usually have a little bit longer amount of time to rehearse. But you still break that play up into chunks and concentrate on segments, and then
You're still storytelling.
putting it together. That's right. So
And ultimately, to me,
it's ultimately, yeah. I mean, the style of acting is different, a little bit, obviously, because you're doing it in front of a camera, but still, I think the basics of acting and not looking like you're acting, which is my biggest pet peeve, and it's the hardest thing to get out of an actor. That's still pretty much the same.
I look at it. I don't mean to cut you off. I look at it like this: as a, to me, theater. The difference is, and I'm painting with a broad brush here. The difference is theater is always a wide shot.
Yes.
We see everything. There's no close-ups in theater. There's no medium shots. There's no dirty singles. Everything's a wide shot. Everything's a master. Film, you establish the master so you can get in tight, so you can punch in for the close-ups and the medium shots. And to me, that's the difference. I don't train as an actor. I don't train differently for theater. Especially with the stages now that are mic'd and the smaller theaters. To me, the work's the work. I mean, it's your storytelling, you're developing character, and I try to train for it the same way. And it's just they just don't have to project to the back row because they have a lav mic here and they have a boom mic in their face. But establishing character and story to me is very similar. I think this day and age, the acting isn't as different as you might think it is. We don't force as much as they did back in the day when it was more.
I was going to say, yeah, I never worked on a mic stage,
Yeah.
So we had to make sure we were heard by the little old lady who always had to sit in the last row, and she was deaf as a post. But I did. Nowadays
Sure.
it has become a lot more similar, I think. Yeah.
Well, you see the great film actors go back and forth to the stage
yeah.
too. Blanchett and they all go back and forth. So it's they just develop character and they do it well. So, but anyway,
But I think that the actual working with the actors is pretty much the same. I agree with Rob on that. I think the way you rehearse, the way you prepare, that's pretty much the same. It really is. Now, did you know the actors that were in your film?
Yeah, I worked with. The weird thing is, my old martial arts teacher was also a voice actor, so I was able just to cast him. It was very, very easy because I knew him and I knew the guy who did the music and the cinematography, so that part was easy. The weird thing was usually he'd been in charge of me because I was like a student in a kind of rigidly disciplined martial arts school. Now I got to tell him what to do. I'd said, hey, I don't like this take. Can you do it again? Can you do it with this intonation? So it was kind of fun to be the boss.
How did he deal with the student becoming the master?
Very well, because he could still kick my butt.
That's a good point.
Grab this pedal out of my hand.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
No, I'm thinking. I had something going on here. I was going to thinking about going to next, and it just went right out of my head.
How do you
I know. I've got it. So when it comes to directing, for you guys, this is probably more of a personal preference thing. Is it more about the story? Is it more about the actors? And then when you take that into the casting aspect of this vision that you've got to have for your production, how important is it to get the best actors, or is it a question of getting the best chemistry?
No, it's all about having your name up on the screen, largest font possible.
It's all about the paycheck.
No, it's all about story. And as far as from where I'm coming from, you try to cast to the best you can with the character. Now, with independent films, especially short films, that's not necessarily always possible. You always are running into situations where, well, this is what we have to work with, so let's make it work. But if you are really careful about your casting, you can actually sometimes be surprised by what you get. And I've actually rewritten roles because of who I cast, where someone's come in to audition, and I looked at it and I'm like, wow, that person read that role in a completely different way than I anticipated. I'm going to go and rewrite it that way because I like that character, that actor so much. But it still, is it serving the story? For Survey, for instance, I rewrote the script because I realized it would be better to basically split this one character in two and give part of this, what was one of the main characters, to a supporting character because it was better for the story. It wasn't better for the actor, but it was better for the story.
I think we're talking semantics, too. I think you start with the story, first of all. Yeah, you start with the best. I think at every level, you go for the best. You start with the best idea. You go for the best version of that idea and script. When you have the best version of that idea and script, you go for the best actors. And I think, I don't think there's I think we're talking semantics here, the difference between you go for the best actors and the best chemistry. I think if you get the best actors, that includes getting the best actors who have the best chemistry, too. Because I think really good actors are also very giving actors, too. And I think very giving actors create chemistry. And I think that goes into the definition of getting your best actors. And I think I've seen people settle, and there are so many freaking actors that you never have to settle, ever. For the love of God, I don't care where you are. You're in Pensacola. There are agents near you in Pensacola. You're not,
let me say this: we have some really good actors in Pensacola.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
And I'm not talking about this project. I'm just talking about in general that
everywhere. What I was going to say is, a lot of people tend to want to do the big cattle call. Most of the agents I've ever known, including the ones I work with now, are very supportive of the indie filmmaker because the agents know they got to keep their actors working, and not all their actors are working at the same time. And a lot of them are younger and greener, or even older and greener, and need tape and need experience. And I've never been turned away, or the people I've sent have never been turned away by agents, be them SAG franchised or not. From an independent film where the filmmaker comes off serious, where the script is good, they've put together packages for them, and the agents have generally already vetted these actors. You don't have to do big cattle calls. Start establishing relationships with these agents because, again, if you make one movie, the odds are you go, I want to be a filmmaker. So, so at some point, you're going to want to make union films, or you're going to want, and if not a union film now, you're going to want to work with bigger actors, and those bigger actors are going to have agents. So start establishing your relationships with these agents now, again, at a lower budget, at a smaller venue, and build that relationship.
Well, in social media, you know, it gets a lot of knocks in the news lately, but it's really wonderful for making connections.
Sure, well,
and for casting and for reaching out to the community. I mean, for instance, in the Gulf Coast area in Pensacola, we have the Emerald Coast Film Group on Facebook that has, you know, brings together all of the film industry basically along from, you know, through Mobile and Pensacola and all the way out to the, you know, the far reaches. So things like that are great resources.
Sure. And
so, you know, use the resources that you have.
Yeah. I would say just don't settle. You know, I've seen so many people get through their casting and go, well, this is what I got. No, that's like what a recipe for disaster that is. Take more time. You've waited this long to shoot your movie. So keep casting. Wait a little longer. There's always a solution. You know.